Adam Lim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
You mentioned before that you were too dumb to quit. What does that mean?
I think, I didn't have a lot of people in my life to tell me the way I had to do something. And so I had to figure a lot of that stuff out. And I think when you don't know what could go wrong, we even talked about like probably being delusional about what's possible and just saying, oh, I could do that, because I didn't have that knowledge in my life of like, this could go wrong. You have to do it this way. And so I just figured out when something doesn't work, I just keep going and trying another way, because it only seems possible that it is possible. If that makes sense.
So being dumb is meaning like it's a combination of a lot of things, delusion, having that level of like naivety to what you're about to step into, kind of?
Yeah, I think, or
is it a willingness to step into something even though you know it's going to be hard?
I think that this world is full of more people that will tell you what you can't do. And I think that stops a lot of people from moving forward and chasing dreams and going after whatever they want to do. And so when people are telling you like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, the risk of that, or it's going to be expensive. And what's if it falls apart? Did you know that most businesses fail? And people are just like, they start believing that. I didn't really have anyone to tell me any different. And I've also been very stubborn. So when you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, watch, right? And say like, I met my wife. I was like, I'm going to marry that woman. And everybody's like, dude, you can't marry that woman. Well, we're 18 years in, right? Hey, I'm going to launch a business. Dude, you don't know how to launch a business. Well, built it, sold it, and done a bunch of other ones, right? So there's that chip on the shoulder, I think, that that dumb and probably stubbornness comes together.
Do you think stubborn is a attractive trait?
I think it can be unattractive. There's a stubbornness, I think, with yourself when you're like stubborn in the sense of I'm not going to quit, like I being stubborn for myself. But I think when it comes to working together, a marriage, anything like that, I think stubborn is a bad thing, right? I think you have to be willing to compromise, or at least be open to hearing everything in a conversation like that.
Yeah, when I look at stubborn, I'm thinking personally, when we're making decisions based on our future, the life we want to live, we need to be stubborn and firm with what we're trying to achieve and not be distracted just by other people's fears, doubts, insecurities, and be able to say no to that and go, no, like we need to do this. But I think when there's other parties involved, right, you need to, and you're trying to work as a team, then you kind of need to collaborate at some stage. So maybe perhaps when it's talking about chasing your dreams and living the life you've always wanted to, marrying the person you've always wanted to marry, or having your eyes set on something that you want, you need to be stubborn in the pursuit of getting that, or else you're just going to get thrown off track. People are going to try 100%. And pull you in all different ways.
Very, very, very well said. But when it comes to like working with other people, because that's required, right? Like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? Yeah. And that's true. I truly believe in that, but that requires a willingness, and it's a maturity, right? Like there's a stubbornness of, like I recently announced I'm running for like local office, right? And someone's like, how far do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know, governor. Like I don't, but there's a lot of people that say, Adam. I'm like, look, people done it. Why can't I? Right. And so there's a stubborn part of me that's like, I'll do whatever I want. Right. I don't care what you think. But there's also the opposite side of the stubbornness, knowing that I don't know what I don't know. Right. Like the older I get, the more I realize things I don't know, and how collaborating with other people and learning from other people can be the most valuable thing to do. Right.
Yeah. I did see that you announced that you were running for local
township board. Yeah.
Township board. Do you feel like, and we'll definitely dive into your story a bit more, but there's this progression that happens with a lot of people in business where, they have different phases of their life, where maybe their earlier stages is this hustle culture where it's like, we need to make something of ourselves. Then you kind of do that. And then there's family that get involved, and then that becomes a bit of a priority. Maybe you find a partner, you have some kids, and now all of a sudden you've got this family piece, connection piece, business piece is ticked, financially you're good. it now goes to that next thing beyond where you go, okay, I want to serve a bit more.
Yeah.
Is that one of the decisions why you've gone for this position? Is it this desire to want to serve, or what's the main reason you've tried to get into politics?
Yeah, I think there's a part of it that I believe a lot of people in politics are just there to be in politics. And I think when we're looking at, specifically like the American people, like the average person, I'm just a regular dude, right? Like I barely graduated high school. I don't have all these things. Nothing was handed to me. Like I've had to kind of work hard and learn to get where I'm at. And so number one, I believe it's possible for anybody and everybody. And I want to share that as far as I can go. But the other part of it is serving is really being able to share what you've learned and lead other people down that path, right? So it's like it can start here locally doing, township board, for example. And, there's just, I have business experience. I've negotiated major contracts. I can communicate and bring parties together and solve some of these things that some people don't have any of that experience, but they're popular. And because they're popular, they ran the political play, it works. And so I look at the landscape of American politics and looking around the world and seeing, you're from Australia, and seeing like where it can be a slippery slope and wanting to step up to just help protect what I think is so great with this country, but also even as it narrows down to just where I live, right?
Was there a fear announcing that and kind of putting it out to the world that that's what you were deciding to do?
For sure. More than I thought. Just the last couple days of experiencing it. I was even telling my wife yesterday, I was like, there's a little level of paranoia I have, like people are watching me. It sounds silly, but there is, because it's a new thing, right? If I were going to say, hey, I'm launching a new business tomorrow, no sweat, right? I'd start almost a company a year or something like that, right? So it's easy, but then it's like, this is a whole new game. And there's a little bit of fear, a healthy bit of fear of not knowing. I'm not an expert at this, right? But it's like, I hired a consultant. I got some really cool people around me. And going back to that stubborn conversation is like the stubborn version of me in this space, dead. Now there's a version of me that's not going to quit. I'm going to go the extra mile. Like I'm going to smash the competition because that's just how I roll. But there's the humble side of me that's like, dude, I got a lot to learn and I want to receive all that.
Yeah, that's interesting. When we think about the stubbornness, tying it back in there, is your willingness to be stubborn probably is linked to the level of experience or confidence that you have in the particular thing. Probably confidence, because there can be people that are stubborn that aren't experienced as well, and they might just have a bit of cockiness, confidence sort of about them. But if we just zoom out and look at all of the things in our life that we're more stubborn in, it's probably the things that we're more experienced in. And so when you're making business decisions, because you've got so much experience in business, you're probably stubborn when someone comes to you and goes, oh, you should probably do it the other way, depending on their level, right? And the level of respect you have for them in business. But perhaps when you're starting out something new, you're going, oh no, I need to learn. I'm going to soak it all in. Like, you're experts at this. I kind of value your opinion a bit more.
Yeah. And I think, what you mentioned is correct. And there's two places or positions why I believe people are stubborn. One is a bit of confidence, right? It's like, I know this is the right way, right? And then there's another part of stubbornness that is fear, and I don't want to be exposed. So if I stick to my guns, right? And that's where a lot of people stay stuck in their life. You can look at their entire life, like, oh, guy's stubborn, because they're unwilling to listen. They're unwilling to, see a different perspective, and they just go that route. And there's other people that are stubborn, and because of their stubborn, they stay this great course, right? So it's a unique term, and it's motivated by two different things.